Hey everybody, I just wanted to give you a real quick update about everything that's going on with my dad. So he is home. He's been home for a while, and he's doing a lot better. I guess he's got some specialists in the town that he lives in that he's going to see right now. And it looks like he is going to make an almost full recovery. So that's good. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that he's gonna live and he's gonna be okay. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him in I think since right before my last video, so it's been a little while. He has called once or twice, and he sent me some text messages. His last phone call to me, he was because he was out for so long and he was in a coma and then he was on life support and all that. He's just kind of hearing like what actually happened, and it's all kind of sinking in just how bad it was and how scary it was. So I think, when he called, he's like, man, I just heard, how you saw me, and that must have been really bad. I must have looked terrible. And I was like, yeah, you didn't look good. And I thought I was going to lose you a lot, several times, actually. In that conversation, he was telling me about all his appointments that he had, physical therapy, and all these specialists that he's going to go see. So I told him, and this was maybe like, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago ish, in that conversation when he's telling me about his specialist that he's going to go see. I was like, well, I think maybe you should try to find a psychiatrist to go talk to as well. And he was like, why? Why would I need to do that? And I said, to find out why you drink. Which I don't think that's crazy. I think that's kind of obvious, right? I mean, his drinking is what put him in this position, and that is what the medical professionals have told him. And he says, well, I already know why I drink. And mind you, while he's telling me all this, it's very it's so culty and weird. He's totally got he's got the new personality on. So I'm not talking to my dad. I'm talking to a watchtower. So you can imagine what that sounded like. It's real peppy, and if I could see him talking, I'm sure he'd be all glazed over, in the eyes like they are. It's just so weird. I can't believe that they think that that's normal. That this is socially acceptable. To be so fake. Anyway, that aside. So he says, well, I know why I drink. He says, well, because I like to reward myself after work. And so my dad, on top of being an alcoholic, is also kind of a workaholic. And he's a watchtoweraholic. I just came up with that. I coined that phrase, trademark, watchtoweraholic. He's all three of those things. He's addicted to all three. And so I know that he works hard. I will say that about my dad. He's super hardworking guy, and he provides really well. So he's like, well, I like to reward myself with a beer when I get home because I work so hard during the day, so it's a reward. And I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? A beer is a reward. 10 beers is a problem. You're not having a beer. You're having a case of beer. But there's no telling him that because, he's on top of being in his full cult mode. He's also back to, he just kind of talks down to me like I'm stupid, which is just so aggravating. I think it's a combination of being his kid. I changed your diaper, so you obviously are not as smart as I am. Also, being a female doesn't help because, you know, I'm the weaker sex. So I'm a female and I'm his kid. So I am a dumbass. And I just got really aggravated. I got super aggravated, and I didn't yell at him, but I came down hard, and I told him, you know what, this is something that I know about. This is something that I have some experience with, and we're all just a few steps away from something really bad happening to us, right? Like, something bad is in the future. Something really, really bad is coming to everybody, and it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. We all have something coming, and it could be today or tomorrow, and it could be a year from now, but it's going to be devastating, whatever it is. The loss of a loved one, or a job, or an accident, like, you know, or a pet dying. Like, there's always something that happens that's devastating. And if he doesn't have, I told him, if you don't have a solid foundation within your own sobriety, you're not going to make it. You're just not. And you can't do that by yourself, because you haven't been able to do that by yourself up until this point. And obviously believing that, you know, you almost killed yourself with drinking by the time you're 58 because you like to have a beer at the end of a long day. I mean, that's what you think. You're doomed. You're just doomed. You need help. And I'm not talking about like AA or rehab. He would never do those two things, which is why I recommended a therapist of some kind. Because I could see him doing that. I could talk him into that. Maybe my stepmom could, and I think she would probably agree with me that this would be a good thing for him. So that's why I picked that. And once I kind of came down on him and told him, you know what, I actually know what I'm talking about here. Maybe you want to listen to me, and quit blowing me off. He kind of, oh, well, okay, you know, kind of made it sound like he was taking me more seriously. Who knows if he is? I don't know. So the next thing I told him was, I kind of told him what it was like for my stepmom during that whole situation. And for example, like, and I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, like when they do a procedure, they have to come in and tell you what all the risks are. And, you know, that it's not always going to be worst case scenario, but they have to tell you. And the worst case scenario is always death, right? And made worse by the fact that my dad won't take a blood transfusion. So, you know, they would come in and they would do this, and then they would have to have my stepmom sign a consent form. And it just about killed her. Because she felt like, you know, when I sign this, if he dies, is it my fault? You know, which was brutal. It was brutal. And I also got the distinct impression from listening to her and talking to her that maybe their marriage hasn't been roses, and maybe sometimes my dad is not very nice to her, which I guess wouldn't surprise me. So I told him that. I told him about, you know, her worry about signing consent forms, and that she would be responsible if he died. And I told him, I didn't say, you know, I think you're not nice to her, but I did say you need to treat her really, really good. You need to be nice to her. You need to listen to her. And he, again, did the same thing, that, oh yeah, I know what I have, and oh yeah, she's a good woman, blah, you know, and just, again, not really listening. And I kind of lost it. And I said, you know what, this is very emotional for me. And this is, I'm reaching out from my heart to your heart. And I'm trying to tell you something that is something that I witnessed that was very, very deep and moving and emotional. And I want you to take me seriously. And again, he was like, oh, okay, you know. So I have to kind of come down on him and kind of be a little rough with him, to kind of yank him out of that witnessy, the new personality. And kind of bring him back to reality and say, I don't want to be placated, and I don't want to be pandered to. You need to listen to what I'm saying. I don't know much, but I do know these two things. I know these two things. So that was the last time I talked to him. And after that, I was like, you know what? I can't talk to this guy anymore. I got to put the boundaries back up. You know, it was really hard for me to put those boundaries in place in the first place. And I wrote him that really long letter, and that was very scary to do. It was very scary to write it and then put a stamp on it and watch it go into the mailbox. It was, you know, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually did it. But it was the best decision of my life. And now that I've been talking to him some more, I'm like, you know what, I can't have this guy around. I do so much better without him. So I was like, well, shit, now what? You know, like, do I tell him, you know, now that you're home and you're going to be okay, it's time for you to quit calling and quit texting, or do I just quit taking his calls? I always feel like the best thing to do is to be direct. If it's someone that is important to you and that you care about, don't text them. Don't just hope that they're going to get the message. You need to tell them. So I'm like, well, if I do this, I'm going to have to do it over the phone. And I'm going to have to be very, very clear, because he deserves that and I deserve that. No more playing around. But the problem is that he is in a really, really scary place medically. And he needs absolute calm and zero stress in his life. He's not going back to work. I don't know what's going on with the whole elder thing. He will never step down. They would have to toss him out. I know my dad, being an elder, is the only thing that he cares about. It's all he's ever wanted in his whole life, is to be an elder. And now that he is one, he is not going to back down. So I worry about that, because who knows? Who knows what he has heard, or what he has had to cover up, or what sort of cognitive dissonance this is causing in his mind that is possibly had, you know, an effect on his heart. Who knows? Worst case scenarios could be, you know, child abuse. I don't even want to think about it. But I really can't lay a bunch of stress on him. I just can't. And I can say, yeah, I need to do this for me, and I got to do this for myself. But I'm going to be okay for, you know, I'll be okay for a little bit. He cannot have any stress, and I'm not going to be the cause of stress. So fortunately, he has kind of quit calling and texting. I haven't heard from him in weeks now. So I'm hoping that maybe this is going to take care of itself. It's probably not going to. Because before, you know, I would go weeks or sometimes months without hearing from him. So this could be just, you know, back to normal. Only this time I'm not going to get drunk texts, hopefully. So that's kind of where we are right now, but he is going to be okay. And I continue to get messages on my first video from people and comments, and I read them all, and I really appreciate them. And I hope everyone just, you know, I hope everyone knows he's gonna be okay now, miraculously. So that's it for now, and I will continue to let you guys know, like, kind of how it goes with him and just the amount of contact that we're gonna have. One more thing that I wanted to say real quick. I recently had the opportunity to meet up with a David Atlas. So his name on, I guess, Facebook, which I'm not on Facebook, but he's on Facebook and Reddit and YouTube as David Atlas 1975. Obviously not his real name. So let me tell you about this guy. He is, so he travels for work, and he happened to be in town or close to the town that I live in. So I drove out and I met him, and we had dinner. And just a super nice guy, super, super personable, super funny, just great guy, great conversationalist. I had a really nice time chatting with him. He's faded. He's not disfellowshipped. So I guess like his wife and his kids are in, and they're pretty deep in, and he kind of woke up, and it was a very jarring experience. But he kind of keeps the peace within his family, which must be hard. I feel so fortunate in just comparison that I get to go home and live my true self and live my truth, and he doesn't get to do that. And also, I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like to watch your kids go down such a destructive path. So hearts out to this guy. But so what he does is he travels around the world for work, and then when he gets to someplace, he finds like a local YouTuber or someone on Reddit or one of the meetup groups, and he will meet up with them and hang out with them and just have a good conversation about about life after Watchtower. And it's he described it as kind of like his therapy, which is perfect. That's so great. I'm really happy for him that he's in that place, that he can get that kind of one-on-one and real personal interaction with other ex-witnesses and people from all over the place, so getting lots and lots of different perspectives, different backgrounds. So anyway, I don't think he does videos on YouTube, but he comments, and he's got Reddit and Facebook under those names. He told me that in my next video, if I wanted to put his name out there and add his email address, to go ahead and do that, because he loves to talk to ex-witnesses. So I am going to put his email address that he gave me into the description of this video, if I can figure out how to do that, because I've never done that before. So I'm going to do that. And David, if you're watching, I had a blast hanging out with you, and I can't wait to do it again. So yeah, if you want to reach out to that guy, great guy, and I think that you'll have a really nice conversation with him. And that is all I had to say, and I hope everyone's doing really well. Thanks again for all the nice comments and everything, and I will be back real soon. Take care, guys. Bye.